You are listening to the voice of the frontline protector here at the Private Officer Beat Radio. Every week you'll hear breaking news, topics of training, information for the industry of security, public safety, and law enforcement. So strap in, hang on, we're about to speed off in this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio show. Monday, July the 25th, 2020. I'm your host, Rick McCann, behind the microphone today, and glad to be here. We announced this past week, for the first time in 2 years, our next Officer Memorial Week. Every year, even for the last 2 years, we have honored the fallen security officers and private police officers for a week on the third week of September. This year, the week is going to be September the 18th through the 24th. September 18th through the 24th. We will be holding memorial services in several parts of the country, as well as an online service as well. During the service, we present the community with an overview of what security officers do, the dangers of their work, how they are frontline officers and protectors, and we also do a roll call with the officers that we've lost over the last 12 months, and we have several dignitaries, either the mayor, the police chief, or others that speak, and we usually have a song or two that is sung by community members as well. I, founder of Private Officer International, I also speak. We travel to a number of places throughout the country, and we've sent out a press release this past week announcing those dates, and now we are putting together the locations, the dates, and the times. If you would like to sponsor that financially, you can contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. It takes a lot to travel across the country, especially now with fuel prices and lodging costs going up. It is no easy task. There's a lot of travel and time and effort put into it. If you would like to donate to that or sponsor it, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com, or you can go to our website at privateofficer.org, and up at the right on the top, there's a link that says Officer Down. Click on that, and there'll be another page, Benevolent Services, and you can make your donation right there direct online. If you would like to sponsor a memorial service in your area, it doesn't take much. A small donation and then some assistance to market or advertise the event to local security companies, law enforcement, and others, and also to get politicians involved, whether that be the mayor or, like we have had in other areas, state and U.S. representatives and senators involved. We've had governors involved, and it really has been an eye-opener for the community, for the politicians and law enforcement, and it's been a great help to private security because many people do not know the totality of injuries and deaths that occur every year. Felonious assault and felonious homicides of security officers oftentimes far outnumber those of law enforcement. And we're not saying that. We don't compile these numbers to compare, but it is a fact that many people are not aware of. And so Private Officer International, we have been extremely honored to present these memorials for 18 years, and we will continue to do so. Contact helpdesk at privateofficer.com. If you'd like to get involved, you can also go to our website, privateofficer.org, click on the officer down, click on benevolent, and you can donate right there online. It is really, if we don't do it, who will? It really is the only memorial service like it for private security and law enforcement, and we've had a lot of people over the years participate, and I really thank all of the folks who not only participated, but helped to coordinate and really help us to put these memorial services on in their local communities. This past week has been another horrific week for private security. We're keeping track of firearm incidents, both firearm incidents used by security and against security. And of course, we have been keeping track of the shootings and deaths of security personnel. We'll give you more info on that when we come back. I want to mention about Armour College before we go to our first break. ArmourCollege.org is a professional technical public safety school, and you have an opportunity right now to take your training skills, your expertise as an instructor, and turn it into a business. We have a great opportunity for folks with or even without any training experience to get involved and to have their own school. Since the pandemic, we have had more instructors work from home and go out to the client's location and teach. You don't have to open a big school. You don't have to have a big overhead. There are other ways for you to own a training business. And right now, we're offering that under a new spin-off called the Instructors Crew. And the Training Crew. This is really going to be an opportunity for individuals to have their own training service without the overhead and be able to train at the clients, at the business, the church, the school, as well as online, and to work with Armour College to set up area seminars, church training, church security training, active shooter training, and other types of courses. If you want to learn more, contact Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, at Armour College, A-R-M-O-U-R college.org, and she'll send you all that information. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. It's a great opportunity, and you're going to have all of the front office and back office support, business support, legal support, training support. I mean, it's a great opportunity. Contact Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E, at armourcollege.org. Remember, you can be part of the conversation 24 hours a day at facebook.com/Private Officer International and on Twitter at twitter.com/Private Officer. You can also read all of our news 24/7 at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. And be sure to go to iHeartRadio and listen to all of our programs. Just search for Security Police News on iHeartRadio. And you can also listen to my newest radio show. It's been on now for several weeks, called Highway 98 Radio. Check it out. Coastal Alabama's newest and best radio station, Highway 98. You can go to iHeartRadio, and all of the programs will be there as well. We'll be right back on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
40% of the food that we produce here in the U.S. is wasted. That's 133 billion pounds of food a year. A lot of this food gets wasted at the grocery store. If a carrot doesn't look perfectly right, it gets thrown away, even if it's totally safe to eat. But the biggest waster of all is us. On average, every American throws about a pound of food away every single day. Here are some ways you can stop wasting your food. Number one, meal prep. You don't have to be a fitness influencer to plan out your meal. If you plan before you're shopped, you're less likely to find a moldy vegetable in the back of your fridge. Number two, store it right. Storing food in the right place keeps it from going bad. And your refrigerator has those produce drawers for a reason. Become best friends with your freezer. Your freezer will hold things for a much longer period of time. Number 3, be scrappy. Literally, learn to cook with things that you would normally throw away, like carrot tops, herb stems, brown avocados, and pickle juice. If you want to save money and like saving the planet, save your scrap.
Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you. Whether you're looking for the top quality protective armor or protective clothing, stab-resistant vest or gloves, contact my friend Ben over at Body Armor USA. Give him a call, 516 area code 817-1666. Again, that's area code 516-817-1666. Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you. No doubt about it.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this state.
Welcome back to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. As I often say on this program, you can easily get involved. There are so many things across the spectrum, both with Private Officer and Armor College, things and ways for you to be involved. And I, again, invite you as a member or non-member of Private Officer International to get involved, not so much in an organization or an association, but in a profession that you are involved in. This is a way that you're making your livelihood. So why wouldn't you want to be involved in what's happening across the country and around the world? We're seeing many vast changes, some for the good and some not so good in the private security industry. And you can sit back if you want to and say, I don't care. I'm just working for now in security. I'm just making a check. Well, as long as you're making a check from that security profession, industry, you should be involved because it affects you one way or the other, whether you like to think about it, believe it or not. You can, if you're not already, be a member of Private Officer International for just $99 for a lifetime subscription. Just go to privateofficer.org. At the top of the page, there's a little button that's flashing about specials. You can sign up right there. 50 member benefits, support that you will not find at any other association, organization, or even company. You can, if you are a member, non-member, get involved in our chapters that are reopening across the country. Support your area security officers. Work to make the industry better. Become involved in the chapter. Become involved in Private Officer International. We're still looking for another 1 or 2 people to be involved in the virtual museum, which we're working very diligently and hard to complete. We hope to have had it on by now, but it is a much bigger project, and we're asking for support. It won't take but a few hours of your time every month. Not really your thing, doesn't really float your boat. You can get involved with the various committees at Private Officer International. You can be on the benevolent committee that goes out and assists officers who have been injured in your area in the line of duty. You can be on the advisory committee, which is like a steering committee of the future of Private Officer International. You can be on the awards committee. There are many ways to get involved. You just gotta make that call, send that email, get involved, and be part of the answer, not part of the problem. Many ways to get involved at Armor College as well. You can be an instructor for your local state regulatory training. You can be a national instructor. We'll help to get you certified. You can be a topic-specific instructor. Let's say firearms is your thing. We can get you certified in several different areas to be a national firearms instructor. Contact Carrie, Carrie, at Armor, ARMOUR, college.org. There are many ways to get involved. We have other companies as well. Are you looking to be a business owner? We can help you with that. You know, through the years, we've seen many people come and go. They all had good intentions, and they all wanted to be involved. They just couldn't really get it all together. Either they had issues at home, they had financial issues, they had work issues. I talk to people who say, I've been in the security business for 30 years. And I ask, well, what position do you hold? And they say, I'm a security guard. Well, that tells me that, like some bakers and cooks and chefs, you might have done it for 30 years, but that doesn't mean you're good at it. Obviously, if you're still in the same entry-level position that you were 10, 20, 30 years ago, don't you see that as a problem? Maybe some people don't have ambition enough. Maybe I don't know. There's lots of different variables why people don't excel and don't do better. But if you want to do better, contact helpdesk at privateofficer.com.
Grew up together. He got his license when he was 16. We were going to the beach, and Luke was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden, I don't remember anything. I wasn't conscious for it. We got hit by a drunk driver. I feel like I knew right away that it was never going to be the same. I don't know. The doctors, they were telling me I was so lucky to be alive. When I found out that he died on impact, I didn't really feel lucky. And sometimes I still don't. Drinking and driving is completely unnecessary, and I think it's selfish if you do it. It's not worth taking that risk, because you never know what's going to happen.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away, because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
Life is precious. Ask any of these people. They've been given a second chance at life through organ and tissue donation. But there are more than 84,000 Americans waiting for life-saving transplants. 17 people die every day waiting. I didn't know this until I lost my best friend, Lyric. She gave the gift of life to 5 people. That's why I've become an organ donor, too. One decision saves so many lives. Donate life.
You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio with Rick McCann behind the microphone. We're over here at the news desk this morning, and we want to start right away by recognizing 2 security officers who were involved in separate heroic action. This past week in Missouri City, Texas, a security officer on community patrol, Hector Adami, was sitting in his vehicle watching the neighborhood when he spotted a very suspicious vehicle. A Dodge pickup truck pulled up into the darkened area, moved his truck several times, and then got out. The security officer, thinking that this was suspicious, got out of his vehicle. He watched the man as he circled several homes and went to the rear of one of those homes and came back with an 11-year-old girl. The security officer became very concerned. He took a picture of the vehicle as it took off and notified local authorities. Police and the FBI agents arrived. They soon knocked on a number of homes and located the grandmother of the 11-year-old who had just been taken by the suspect. Police, FBI, and other law enforcement quickly worked to recover that 11-year-old girl. They determined that the man had no permission to take the girl, that he had been communicating with her online. Police have charged him with numerous counts. And again, this shows how valuable security officers are. The grandmother said that the security officer was a guardian angel. The security officer said that he had a personal debt to pay, that in 2000 he himself was shot and was in serious condition when an unknown man found him, put him in his car, and took him to a local hospital for treatment. In Nashville, Tennessee, a security officer working at a nightclub downtown in the entertainment district along Broadway Street was watching as police and first responders from the fire department was trying to detain a person. Police say that while they were doing that, another man who was in the crowd pulled out a gun. The security officer spotted this person with the gun. Some folks in the crowd began yelling, "Gun, gun, gun." The security officer immediately tackled the person with the gun and held him to the ground, taking the gun from him until Nashville police could get the other person under control and then come to aid the security officer. The security officer has not yet been identified. Police have charged the man with the gun with unlawful carrying, possession of a dangerous weapon, aggravated assault against 6 first responders, public intoxication, and illegal marijuana possession. Again, heroic actions by a private security officer. This security officer, I'm pretty sure, was not armed himself, and yet he tackled a man who had pulled a gun, knowing that 6 first responders, including law enforcement, was already on scene. What was his intentions? I don't think we'll ever know. But this was great work by both security officers. We are trying to locate the security officer's name from Nashville, and we've already located the Missouri City security officer to present both of them with an award. And if you know of any security officers involved in heroic actions, life-saving measurements, or they just deserve to be recognized, please contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Very excellent work on both their parts. A new law passed this past week in New York after a security officer was murdered at a hospital on December the 13th, 2020. Governor Chris Sununu signed into law a health care act preventing the assaults of hospital staff or making it a more serious crime. I don't think they can prevent it. According to Republican Governor Sununu, the security officer, who was 64, was punched and fell, hitting his head, dying 5 days later. This now makes it a felony to assault any hospital worker. The Fulton County detention deputy is under arrest today, Fulton County, Georgia, after an investigation showed that a prisoner paid him to bring in a cell phone and several tools. The investigation led to the arrest of Antoine Brown on Thursday, facing 4 felony charges, including introduction of contraband into a correctional facility, a violation of public oath by a public officer providing prohibited items to an inmate. He has been released on bond pending his court appearance. Another correctional officer, this one from New York City, is also under arrest. He's been charged in the shooting death of a teenager who was playing in the street with a toy water gun. Investigators say that there was some type of confrontation, and the correctional officer shot and killed 18-year-old teenager. This is a high-powered water gun with gel pellets, but police are not sure if it was used to assault the correctional officer. A music producer known as Metro Boomin has paid off the family home of slain Buffalo, New York security officer and retired Buffalo police officer Aaron Salter Jr., who died as a hero during the horrific shooting at the grocery store in Buffalo in May of this year. The African-American police officer and music producer did not know each other, but the music producer told local media that he wanted to do something that would make a difference. The Atlanta-based music producer met with the family and asked if it was okay to pay off the mortgage of the family home. They accepted his generosity, and so he did pay off the home of law enforcement and security officer Aaron Salter. A large number of private security officers let their voice be heard in Boston, Massachusetts this past week. All of them members of CEIU. This is a security officer and labor union. Security officers work 24/7 throughout the pandemic. They often faced very dangerous situations. They often did not have PPE, and they have little or no health care. Private security was protesting for better wages, better job security, and health care benefits. An Idaho school district has decided to hire 10 armed security officers. Twin Falls, Idaho met last week and decided that they needed to do something to prevent a mass shooting. The district board of trustees voted unanimously at a meeting on Wednesday to add an additional 10 armed security officers and to station them in the district's 9 elementary schools across the country. A number of school systems in the past year has done similar actions, adding both SROs and armed private security. Recently, Virginia and several other states put millions of dollars into extra surveillance equipment, cameras, door locking mechanism systems, uniform security and law enforcement, and much more to strengthen the school security. This next story is very difficult to believe, but it happened. 2 Fairfax County, Virginia employees are in custody and charged in the theft of more than $2 million worth of computers. Investigators began to suspect the two were involved in the theft of 35,000 county-owned laptops with a estimated value of $2 million. Muriel Jones, 21, and Frankie Miner, the second, 35, both charged with embezzlement, larceny with intent to distribute, possession of stolen goods. A third party has also been charged with receiving stolen property and larceny with the intent to distribute. Fadi Aliyah, 36, of Centerville, Virginia, was employed by Ataya Computer Recycling, and he possessed some of those stolen computers. Police say that they were stolen from a warehouse where the two men had worked for a while. Many of them had been sold, auctioned, or even offered online for sale. Detectives conducted surveillance and followed the two, taking some of those computers to that Ataya Computer Recycling. Both the employees have been charged and are continuing to be in custody at this time. In Phoenix, Arizona, a security officer is under investigation after shooting a man. The security officer told law enforcement that there was a dispute at the Phoenix 7-Eleven location where he was working and that he felt threatened and he used his firearm. The investigation does not reveal if the man who was injured was armed, other than a confrontation had taken place. A Detroit security officer died after he was intentionally run over. The security officer working at a nightclub got into a confrontation with a man who was harassing a woman. After having some words, the man then left. After Lamar Waller got off duty, he went across to a Walgreens store where apparently the man drove over and followed him. Once the security officer got out of his vehicle, he was intentionally struck by the suspect's vehicle and subsequently died from his injuries. Police have made an arrest in that murder. A Bronx security officer, unidentified, is dead after being stabbed also at a nightclub during a confrontation with a man who would not leave the club. NYPD has made an arrest and no further information was released. In the town of Kenly, North Carolina, the entire police force, the town clerk, and the town's utility clerk all resigned Wednesday in the small Johnston County community. Longtime police chief along with his staff, all resigned. The police chief had been there for 21 years. According to the local newspaper, there was a disagreement between officers and the town leaders. The News and Observer media partner said that the police department was understaffed, stressed, underpaid. All 7 police officers resigned. The county sheriff's office will patrol the city until new officers are hired. 2 Rochester, New York police officers were shot, one fatally, causing the mayor to declare a state of emergency. According to local media, police were on a call when they approached a male subject who then opened fire on the officers. One officer was taken to Rochester General Hospital, and the other, who was critically wounded, was taken to Strong Memorial, where one of the officers died. Rochester Mayor Malik Evans then declared a state of emergency due to the continual gun violence. A Columbia, South Carolina mall is being sued for $20 million over a negligence claim involving an April shooting. Both the contract security company providing the security as well as Columbiana Center have been sued, as well as the mall's parent company, for $20 million. The 8-page lawsuit filed in federal court in South Carolina last week alleges that the security firm, Andy Fraying Services, was negligent and reckless. They had an inappropriate number of security personnel. The security officers were not trained. These are the claims of the lawsuit after the April 16th shooting, when 15 people ranging from 15 to 73 were injured. No one died as a result of the shooting. 3 people were critically injured, however. 3 Allied Universal security guards have pled guilty in the beating of a man at the Denver Union Station. We followed this story now for a while. According to the documents from the court, security officers got into a confrontation with the man and then led him into a bathroom and beat him. The 50-year-old African-American man, whose name was withheld, was heading home from an art gallery party in lower downtown Denver when this occurred. The Allied Universal security officers, under a multinational contract, evidently wanted the man to leave, thought he was trespassing. They got into a confrontation which led to what police say was a 3-man beatdown. A 4th security officer was also charged, but he testified as a witness, and his charges were reduced. A University of Maryland, Baltimore police officer has been arrested for arson. Police said that he intentionally set 4 fires on campus while on duty in December of 2021. Walter T. Christopher, 36, has been charged with 4 counts of arson. Christopher has also been indicted on 12 other counts, including second-degree arson, second-degree malicious burning, malicious destruction. He is currently being held at the Baltimore County Detention Center. Remember, when you see news happening, you can report it. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Let us know what you're seeing in your neighborhood. If you'd like to report an incident that you've been involved in, report it to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Send us your photos and video as well of you on the job or other activity. We'll be sure to show it with all of our followers and members. You can also read our news 24/7, fresh daily, at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. And listen, of course, to our radio shows. Tell your friends. Tell your coworkers. about Private Officer International. Have them join today at privateofficer.org. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some cases that we have been following and the conclusion of these cases. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down Reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. privateofficer.org. A Dropbox will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and we'll also include a free Private Officer International patch and lapel pin. If you
are you looking for the finest private security officer training in the Charlotte metropolitan area? Do you need PPS qualifications in armed or unarmed training? Or maybe you're over there across the line in South Carolina and you need the SLED training. Well, we've got the right training at the right time for you. Premier Training Academy, located at 5624 Executive Center Drive, Suite 142 in metropolitan Charlotte, North Carolina. Give them a call today, 704-806-4933. They also offer firearms training, personal protection, first aid and CPR, and so much more. Call John at 704-806-4933.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie, I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this state.
Each day, those that protect and service in law enforcement put their lives on the line. These law enforcement officers often work long and irregular hours in tough and dangerous conditions, run a high risk of being attacked, wounded, or even killed by the very criminals that prey on us. Every year, hundreds of law enforcement officers are killed or seriously injured in the line of duty. Blue Alert is a system that provides the means to speed the apprehension of violent criminals who kill or seriously injure local, state, or federal law enforcement officers. Find out how you can truly help those who help. That's bluealert.us.
This week on the Private Officer Beat Radio, I want to spend a couple of minutes about a couple of legal cases in the past week, very important cases and criminal investigations involving private security. So I'm going to spend my time on this program talking about why things turned out the way that they did. Now, year after year, we see a lot of private security officers who get arrested for use of force, deadly use of force many times, and other times it's reckless use of force or excessive use of force, just like law enforcement today being arrested on the same charges. It doesn't always mean that they were guilty of it, but that the crime rose to the level where it was an indictable offense. And I want to explain that because we often get questions why this was a good shooting. Why did that security officer or police officer get arrested? And the fact is this: you can use lethal force. Obviously, if you have training, if you're certified, if you've been in the profession for any length of time, you understand that you can use lethal force in an imminent threat situation. But imminent threat or imminent danger is often misconstrued and misunderstood. Many people believe that you can use lethal force if someone threatens you. If someone suddenly reaches into their pocket, if something makes you feel like that person is going to injure or kill you. In recent weeks and months, we have talked about a number of cases. There was a case out of Nashville, Tennessee, about 2 months ago, where a female security officer at a convenience store shot and killed a man who had been involved in a shoplifting, got into some type of verbal altercation, left, and then came back to the store, and the security officer shot and killed the man. She has been charged and indicted for second-degree murder. She said she thought that the security officer was going to harm her, but she could not articulate or explain with any certainty as to how or what made her feel afraid. It is quite common for officers, both law enforcement and security, but more security than law enforcement, to be able to articulate what they felt, how they quantified that threat, how they assessed the level of danger, and that caused them to use lethal force. In that situation in Nashville, there were some cameras at the store. There were eyewitnesses. There were other pieces of evidence that police quickly were able to put together to make that arrest. I think that many times we jump to conclusions and we think because, we see law enforcement getting away with these type of things that we can get away, not be charged because it was similar. Other people believe that as a security officer, they can use deadly force if that person resists. And that is not true. Lethal or deadly force by anybody, a civilian that's carrying a firearm legally, a law enforcement officer, or a security officer can only use lethal force to protect themselves or others from an imminent, that means immediate threat. And that person not only is saying that they're going to do it, but they have the means, the ability. So if that person has a knife in their hand or a weapon, a gun, a large piece of pipe, not only is he verbalizing that threat, but he poses a threat and he has the means to follow through with the threat. But if someone comes and says, I'm going to kill you, that doesn't allow anyone, civilian or otherwise, to use lethal force. If you, as a private security officer, find yourself in that situation, yeah, if you're armed, you have to be ready to take a life. But be very, very certain that the person has the means to follow through with the threat or what you perceive to be the threat. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of the law, and probably your life will be spent behind gray bars. So, talking about security officers being arrested. 4 security officers recently in Pueblo, Colorado, all working at a hospital, were arrested for negligent homicide. The security officers were on duty. A patient at the hospital was trying to leave. The 4 security officers, Anthony Virant, Anthony Ruff, Drake Castro, and Randy Valapando, were charged with negligent homicide because it was deemed that they had used too much force. And because the person was not in police custody, the security officers were not guarding a prisoner, the patient was not in any way governed or ordered or under any type of decree or court order to be in the hospital. When security tried to stop him, he eventually decided, okay, I'll just stay here. And at that point, security got even further involved. Now, I did read as much public record on this case as possible. The arrest was based on an investigation by local authorities. They gathered affidavits, witness statements, video, statements from the defendants. They put everything that they possibly could into the case. But a few days ago, for whatever reason, the district attorney dropped the charges in the death of Matthew Jones, who was the patient. The 10th Judicial District Attorney, Jeff Chostner, stated that after further investigation, there seems to be insufficient evidence to prove the elements beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, we are dismissing all charges against the 4 security officers. I am looking at the district attorney's statement to the media. I'm looking at the documents that were provided as evidence against the 4 security officers. And I'm really wondering why the DA decided not to move forward on this case with as much evidence as they had. Some have said this was political, that one of the security officers has great ties with politicians and community leaders. The media also said in their review of the case that it seems like maybe someone got this swept under the rug. The family of the deceased is not happy, obviously. They too believe that it was swept under the rug, and they're asking for a review by federal authorities. There are a lot of other documents and things that look to me like this case should have gone to trial. I do believe that they overstepped their boundary, but again, one of the confusing factors for me was that of the 4 security officers, at least 3 had prior training in law enforcement. One was retired law enforcement. One was a correction officer. One had other prior experience. So they should have known the limits of their authority and the limits of use of force. The evidence presented, including video, does not show to any certainty or degree of evidence or of the reason why such force was used. And I don't know. But in this case, they have been, the charges dismissed and they have been released. That doesn't mean the charges can't be brought back against them. Unlike going through a jury trial where the four have been found innocent, then you can't be retried, or there's a hung jury, they could retry that. But in this situation, the DA dropped the charges. So yes, if more evidence comes forward, if there's more witnesses or statements or anything that would compel the district attorney to refile those charges, they can certainly do that. In another case involving a security officer also charged in the shooting death of a man in Texas, this security officer was found guilty, and he was found guilty very quickly. The trial lasted just 2 days. Again, this was one of those cases that happened in 2021 where it was evident that the man was not armed, did not pose a great danger or an imminent danger, and the security officer shot him. And over the last 2.5 years during COVID, there were a number of cases where security officers shot people, even killing them for not wearing a mask, not complying, entering the premises when there was too many people on the premises and they would not leave the property. And so, like law enforcement, security are often put into positions where they have to make a quick judgment, a quick assessment, and sometimes they do get it wrong, and they have to pay the consequences, unfortunately. And that's why we're so big on talking about training, talking about having the proper equipment, having two-way radios, having additional resources, backup, so on and so forth, because when you're making a split-second decision, you can't take it back. When you fire that bullet out of the gun, there's no way to pull that bullet back. No way to get it back in the magazine. What's done is done. Another case that we looked at is a man has been found guilty of murder of an armored car security officer. And this case was in New Orleans. It went on for a number of years. The security officer was killed during the armored car robbery, and investigators worked hard on this, and finally they got a conviction. Looking at, again, at all of the information, all of the evidence, there were a lot of people involved. 6 people in total were convicted of murder in the 2013 New Orleans armored truck robbery and murder of the security officer. Curtis Blow Johnson became the latest suspect convicted and sentenced in that murder and robbery. The security officer was Hector Trochez. Now, we followed this very closely since 2013. And that's one of the cases that we really kept close tabs on. The 2013 murder and homicide was just tragic. They gunned him down. They never gave him a chance. The final suspect received 50 years last week in prison, less than the maximum allowed by law, but yet he will spend the rest of his days in prison. During the judge's reading of the sentence, The suspect's family, of course, cried and they couldn't believe that he was found guilty and that he was sentenced to 50 years. The jury also convicted another man of conspiracy, obstruction of commerce, robbery, murder, and violating Federal Gun Act in March, and he too was sentenced to a long term in federal prison, along with 4 other people. At Private Officer International, that's one of the things that we do that people may not really understand or totally grasp. We spend a lot of time researching information, following court cases, contacting authorities, working with Crime Stoppers, and networking with many different people behind the scenes at no financial gain to us. We do it as a service to the security community. Every quarter or so, we put out a news report of the cases that we followed and the results of those cases. We do it for free. But I think that many people in the industry don't understand the process. Very few security officers get involved in these cases. When a security officer is murdered, they don't go out and help to rally the troops. They don't attend the funerals. They don't put out flyers looking for the suspects. They don't put out any effort. And this is the difference between private security and law enforcement or firefighters and paramedics. In a conversation last week, I talked about, law enforcement and firefighters, they take command. They're at the hospital the moment that they hear about a brother or sister being injured on the job. They are with the family. They spend time helping out with the family, even if they don't know them. It's part of the brotherhood. Security officers, on the other hand, when Private Officer International first began in 2002 and 2004, we changed the name to Private Officer. For about maybe 7 or 8 or 10 years, we really focused a lot on assisting security officers and rallying the troops in various parts of the country to be on a benevolent team. But it fell short. People had their own life, they had jobs, so on and so forth. And so we need, as an industry, as a profession, to come together, to assist one another, to uplift each other, and to follow those cases in court and demand that the prosecutor, that the detectives, the homicide detectives, that the juries all do their best for this individual who was killed in the line of duty on the job. If you want to get involved, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. That's going to do it for this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Thanks for being with us. And until the next time, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you back here on the radio.